Hey guys, Connor here at Etrailer.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at the CURT Class 3 trailer hitch for our 2020 Honda Pilot. Now as you can see here, we have a very clean finished install look. This hitch has a hidden design, meaning the main cross tube is actually tucked under here behind the bumper, so we're not going to see any of that from outside the vehicle. The only part we are going to see is the part we need, which is the receiver tube opening right here. Now as you can see here, CURT has a really nice glossy powder coat finish. It just looks really nice on the back of the vehicle, and it doesn't stand out too much. Now please keep in mind, if our vehicle is equipped with a hands-free liftgate feature, we want to make sure we place our foot on either side of the receiver tube opening here. That way we can trigger the sensors. Now another feature I really like about this CURT hitch is the overall design, and that it's tucked up right under the rear bumper here. Now this is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to give us the hidden look we have for, and it's also going to improve our ground clearance, so we don't have to worry about scraping on some of the steep driveways. As we can see here, there is no cutting or trimming of this fascia panel here. It just simply sits and butts up right underneath it. Now our CURT Class 3 trailer hitch here has a 2-inch receiver tube opening. This 2-inch receiver tube opening is going to be great, of course, for not only towing, but also bike racks and cargo carriers, because it just gives you a lot more variety to choose from. This trailer hitch has a 6,000-pound gross trailer weight capacity, which is essentially what we're going to be pulling behind the fully loaded trailer, as well as a 900-pound vertical load rating, which is essentially our tongue weight and the downward force. Now keep in mind, this trailer hitch can be used with a weight distribution system, and that's going to up our gross trailer weight rating to 8,000 pounds. However, our tongue weight rating will remain the same. Now a couple of the things we see here on the side of our receiver tube opening is number one, the hitch pinhole. The hitch pinhole is going to be the standard 5/8 inch diameter. This is going to be used to secure our ball mounts, our bike racks, and our cargo carriers. If we keep in mind here, there is an additional pin and clip sold separately, which we have here at Etrailer.com. This is just going to simply insert into the hole here. We're going to secure on the other side with our clip. Now if needed, we can provide a little bit of security and obtain a locking hitch pin, which is also here available at Etrailer.com. Now if we take a look down here, we see we have 2 safety chain loops on either side of the hitch receiver tube opening. Now these are going to accept our smaller S-type hooks, which we're going to find on some of the light duty trailers. You can see here, fits in there nicely, clears our hitch pin here. We're also going to be able to accommodate the larger Clevis hook, which is going to be found on some of our medium and heavy duty trailers. And again, it fits nicely over the safety chain loop, and we don't have any interference with our hitch pin. This CURT Class 3 trailer hitch is very easy to install by yourself. You can do this at home with just common handhold tools, as well as on the ground. We don't need to really lift the vehicle up in the air at all. There's only 3 bolts per side, there's no drilling, there's no welding, and there's no cutting of the bumper fascia here. Now another thing I really like about this is, as explained earlier, there's no cutting to the rear fascia here, which is required on some of the other hitches where the receiver tube sits up closer to the bumper. This means we don't need to make any permanent modifications to our new vehicle. Now a few measurements you want to keep in mind when selecting your ball mount or bike rack or cargo carrier are the distances from the center of the hitch pinhole out to the outer edge of the bumper. That's going to be 4.5 inches. Now this is going to ensure we don't have any issues with our folding bike racks and cargo carriers coming in contact with the vehicle. The other measurement we have here is the distance from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube. And this is going to be useful when we're selecting our ball mount, so we get the correct rise and drop to match our trailer. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's show you how easy this hitch is to install on your own. To start our installation today, the first thing we're going to want to do is open the rear hatch on our vehicle here, because we're going to need to access the inside so we can lower the spare tire, which is then going to allow us to raise our hitch up into position. So there is going to be a button on the underside here we can press. And we can come in here. And there's going to be a few panels we need to remove first in order so we can get to the nut to lower the spare tire down. The first one is just outer panel here. We can go ahead and release the lever here, pull it out of position. Then we're just going to place it up here in the vehicle to get it out of our way. Now that we have the top panel out of the way, we can go ahead and work our way down to this center hole here. This is going to expose the nut for the spare tire, so we want to take our trim panel tool here and just pry this cover off. And then we have a rubber plug here, which needs to be removed as well. We can take our same trim panel tool or a flathead screwdriver, whatever you have on hand, and just sort of gently ease that out, making sure we don't damage the grommet. So this is going to expose the nut or bolt here, if you will, to lower our spare tire. Now, in order to lower it down and turn this, there's going to be some tools we're going to need, which are also located in the vehicle. And they're going to be on the driver's side here behind this panel. We want to simply remove this. And as you can see here, we have our two holes. We have our two tools here that we're going to have to pry out from this panel here. Just take our trim panel tool again, just lift it up to break those free. So how this works is we're going to place the socket end here over the bolt here that we removed the plug from. We're going to simply place that over there. And then what we do here is we take this other end with the sort of indented head here, and we're going to insert that through the hole here on the crowbar. And now this is going to allow us to turn counterclockwise, and this is actually going to loosen up the spare tire. We'll hear it break free down there. And once we get it nice and loose, we can lower the rest by hand by just simply turning this crowbar here. Now, we don't need to go all the way down, so I recommend giving it a few turns and then looking underneath to see how far down the spare tire is moved. Now, as you can see here, we have the spare tire lowered already. We're going to go ahead and give it a couple more rotations to lower it more. It's basically just going to help with lining the hitch up on the frame a little bit easier. Now, before we raise our hitch up into position, we want to take a look at the hardware that came with our kit. Now, we're going to have 6 M14 hex head bolts here. We're also going to have 6 matching conical tooth washers. And what we need to make note of is these washers here. Now, we see the teeth on the outside parameter here. We just want to make sure when you insert a bolt through here that these are going to be facing up towards the trailer hitch and not down at the bolt head. Now, we're going to need a 22mm socket in order to tighten these down. So in order to get our hitch up into position, we're going to want to grab a couple set of hands because it's going to make this a lot easier. So now that we have our spare tire down, we're going to want to be careful. We're going to slide our hitch up under the bumper and over the spare tire here. And to start things out, we're just going to get one bolt installed on each side here to hold the hitch in place. Now that we have all 6 of our bolts against the frame and hand tight, we want to go ahead and take our ratchet here and again our 22mm socket. We're just going to touch everything up to make it nice and snug. This is going to take some work out of the process, and we go to torque everything back down with our torque wrench. Now, our next step here is to take our torque wrench, and we're going to torque all 6 of our fasteners down to the specified mount in our instructions. So now that we have all of our fasteners torqued down to the specifications in our owner's manual, we can go ahead and raise the spare tire back up into position, which we again do through the hatch there in that rear panel. Now that we have our hitch up into position, we have all our fasteners torqued down to the specifications in our manual, and we've raised the spare tire back under the vehicle. That's going to do it today for our CURT Class 3 trailer hitch on our 2020 Honda Pilot.